In this video we're going to have a look at exactly what these four very important keywords mean. And when you've got this understanding, you can then really press forward to understanding some of the grade C questions. So let's begin with factor, and with all my number work I always like to think of it on a washing line. So I'm going to show you a different washing line for each of these keywords, and hopefully that will help you remember it. So the factors, let's put some t-shirts on. So factors, the first thing you need to think about in your head is looking for factor pairs, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. And these are basically numbers that multiply together to make the initial number. So if we look at the factor pairs of 12, these are the numbers that we multiply together to make 12, so these are what we call factor pairs to make that initial number. In this case was 12. So generally what we do then is list the factors. We can see that there's 6 factors and we'd write them in a list. So let's put that into practice. If I take the number 20, think factor pairs and just write them out. So 1 times 20, I know it's in the 2 times table because it's even, and I know it's in the 4 times table. So you do have to be quite good at your times tables to do this quickly. And so it has 6 factors also, and I'll write them out. In fact, that's a mistake there. That's not even meant to have 3 in it, so please ignore that 3. It's just meant to be 1, 2, 4, 5, 10 and 20, the numbers you can see there. Some people like to set up differently, which is completely up to you. 36, they like to draw arrows coming off, so 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 4 times 9, and I generally prefer to go right 1 times table, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and just check whether it's going to go in. There's nothing stopping you though going from the 1s to the 6s to the 4s to the 2s to the 3s, however they pop into your head. But I would always advise you to go through the times tables in order and just check off whether it's in that times table or not. So but again, 9 factors this time, and we would list them, and there are no mistakes on that one. So with factors, they also like to ask us to find the highest common factor, and this is really approaching onto a grade D sort of question. So if we take those same 2 numbers as before, 20 and 36, we can write the factors, and if you look at the wording here, it's common factor, so we can see that there's a 1 in both of them, there's a 2 and there's a 4. So we would say that these black numbers here are all the common factors, but the question will always ask us for the highest one, which in this case is 4. It will never ever ask for the lowest one because it will always be 1. So when we're talking about factors, it is always the highest. So going back to this initial list, the blue of the factors is quite a similar colour to the prime, and that's because they are very, very close to one another, but prime are special factors. So prime numbers, they only have 2 factors. So not like the 20 and the 36 where there's lots of factors, a prime number only has 2. And it's always the number itself and the number 1. So here's a quick example. 9 is not prime because I can make it using the times tables, 3 times 3 and itself and 1. So that is not prime. But the number 17 is prime because the only way I can make it is using itself and the number 1. And I'll show you this in a little bit more detail. Oh, I'm sorry, I've just chopped off the top there. You can just make out those numbers. So I've crossed out the number 1 and I've circled the 2. And if I cross out everything that's in the 2 times table, all the even numbers disappear. And if I do the same with the 3 times table, I'm going to do this relatively quickly, but you'll get the gist of it. Circle the 5, to cross out all the ones ending in a 5 or 0, and the 7s, cross out all of those, not many of those ones left. All that I'm left with are numbers that are not in any other times table apart from itself and 1, which are the prime numbers. So the first prime number is 2, and it's very special because it's the only even prime number, and 1 is not prime because it only has 1 factor.